Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I'm your host, KJ Miller, founder, lecturer, and content creator. And tonight is a Queen Things episode, which means we're going to be digging into your comments on the last episode about the Kardashians. I'm going to be giving you a couple of updates, a couple of things going on in the media. Then we're going to end with our parking lot and we're going to get on out of here. As always, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So let's get into it. Okay, two quick announcements before we jump into the comment section. First of all, this is our 19th episode, and next week's episode is our 20th episode and our season 1 finale. Can you believe we made it? We made it, folks. 20 episodes, 20 weeks. I haven't skipped 1 week. Okay, your girl has been on time. She has delivered. She has shown up. She has shown out. And now I'm tired. I am tired and I do need a break. So next week will be our season finale. I'm excited about the episode. Of course, Adrian will be back and you're going to like it. I really think you're going to like it. And then we're going to take a break. Now, for those of you subscribing on Patreon, you will still get your monthly bonus episode every month until we return in the fall. For those of you who are not subscribed, you're going to have to just, re-listen to your favorite episodes. Or if you've been listening just via the podcast, you can go over to YouTube and watch again, but get the visuals. Okay, the visuals, honey. But yeah, you're going to have to make do while we are on hiatus. Season 2 is going to come at you in the fall, most likely end of September, possibly beginning of October. It just depends on how long it takes me to really refresh and get season 2, like the research and everything else underway. I want to come at you in season 2 with bigger, better, bolder. You know how in season 2 for like television shows, there's always a glow up. Like, first of all, they got budget because they got approved to come back for season 2. I remember one time someone pointed out that the wigs always get better in season 2. And that is true, honey. If you go watch Scandal, okay, and look at Olivia Pope's wigs in season 1, versus season 2. Oh, honey, it's true. They get better. Everything gets better. Suddenly, everyone has wardrobe budget. They're not dressed in H&M's finest anymore, okay? They're hitting you with real wardrobe couture. There's just a glow up. The set pieces look a bit shinier, and I want to give that to you here on Two Queens, Two Crowns. I want to give you a glow up. One of the things I'm definitely going to do, and I actually started shopping for this today, is get a better microphone. I know audio in season 1 has been, let's call it creative. Everyone's so creative. Let's call it creative. Look, it was season 1, okay, like I said, but season 2, we're going to glow up the mics. Thank you for sticking with us, even though the audio was sometimes a bit spotty. We're going to glow that up. I'm going to glow up the video. I am also investing in a better camera, not just for the podcast, but for my YouTube channel. I'm investing in that. So that's going to be a glow up. What else? We've got a few surprises. I'm not going to say. You'll have to stick around for season 2 to find out, but just know it's going to be the content you love, but a little bit sparklier. Best believe I'm still Bonjour when I'm in a room. I can still make the whole place shimmer. Okay, so just know that. That is announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, and this actually is going to segue us into the meat of the episode. Announcement number 2 is really about the direction of the show and how it is both growing and expanding, and what that is going to mean for you as a listener should you decide to stick around. And I hope you do. I was marinating on last week's episode because it was a little bit of a departure. And yes, it was a bonus episode, but a little bit of a departure from, I guess, what you would call our typical episode where we dive into two women who have historically been pitted against one another. And what I was seeing about the narrative online about the Kardashians is that it sort of felt like they were being pitted, like all of them, particularly Kylie, as we spoke about, but really all of the Kardashians were being pitted against the women of America in some way. Like, it just seemed like that really was the narrative. And that was interesting to me. The same way all of these other narratives, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, Britney and Christina, Brandy and Monica, Beyonce and Taylor, the same way all of those narratives were interesting to me because it felt like, well, why? Like, why has this been put forth? Is it warranted? What's underneath it? Is it coming from these actual people? Is it just coming from fans and media? What are our takeaways? What can we learn? What can they learn? I kind of had all of those same sorts of questions, even though the setup of it was a little bit different. And so I wanted to explore that. That said, I do feel like it could feel like, and I even said at some point in the episode, I've been judging them for the last hour, right? So I recognize that maybe it felt a bit more judgmental than prior episodes. And I think because, in my mind, it was a bonus episode. And also because I just feel differently about the Kardashians, I think, than I do some of the other women we've spoken about on this podcast. Probably some of it was a bit judgmental, but mostly I wasn't trying to come from a place of judgment. I was trying to come from a place of discourse and curiosity and critique. And I hope that came across as well. But what I want to say as I think about the direction of the show, and I think I've spoken about this before, what I want to say is the way I think about this show and really my content more broadly, my TikTok, my YouTube, my public speaking, my teaching, all of it, is I'm interested in the real world, the real conversations we are having, the real consequences of the conversations we are having. I'm not particularly interested in sugarcoating or just trying to make nice. And I know that it's possible for that to feel a little bit at odds with a podcast that very deeply believes in women empowerment, because I think sometimes women empowerment gets couched as always saying a nice thing, always lifting and praising someone, always giving someone their flowers. Those things are important, and I do those things. I do those things regularly. But I don't think that that's all it means to empower someone, right? I don't think empowering is simply praising, is simply celebrating, is simply complimenting. I think empowerment comes with real discourse and recognizing the consequences of our actions, recognizing the impact of our actions. And so all of those things are going to be discussed here, and frankly, on all of my platforms, big or small. And so I hope that it feels like there's a through line, even in the episodes like last week's where maybe there was a little bit of judgment, to be very candid. I hope it feels like there's still a through line of, yes, women's empowerment and also women's discourse. I almost care a little bit more about the discourse than I do the empowerment, because I think the discourse is empowering. I think when we take back the narratives that have been said about us and that we've been force-fed, and we really start to examine and say, hey, does that make sense? Why is it this way? If this person did this, if this person was dishonest about this, what does that mean for me? What does that mean about how I interpret their art, their work, their talent, their whatever it is? Like, the discourse is, I think, what matters the most to me. And I think there's empowerment in that. But I do recognize that sometimes that discourse is going to turn critical. Sometimes we're going to talk about people I don't necessarily love. I don't love everybody, okay? I'm not Mother Teresa. I don't love everybody, but that doesn't mean they won't make it onto the show as a subject of the show. And so I guess I want to be upfront about that and just say, hopefully it all still lands in a way that feels edifying. But if it doesn't, and you're finding yourself sort of pushing up against the content a bit, and that means it's not necessarily the right fit, or maybe not exactly what you thought it would be when you dove in for the very first episode or whatever it might be, I can understand that, right? No hard feelings. What I can't do is pretend to be something I'm not, or pretend that I'm going to talk about something in ways that I'm not. Like, I'm always going to do my best to be very honest, to be as thorough as I can be in research and what I'm presenting, to be fair, to show grace, but to be candid and to give my opinion based on my lived experience. I don't know that I can do anything different. And I certainly don't think I'm interested in doing anything different. So I want to put that out there because I do recognize that last week's episode maybe felt a little bit different. And I do hope it still landed. I do hope it still landed well. And if it didn't, and this is something you want to engage in and have a conversation about, please know I'm always down for a conversation. I'm in the comments. I'm a little bit less in the comments than I used to be, just because comment volume has gotten such that I can't respond to everything. But I think if you ask people who follow me, I still respond to a lot. And so I'm happy to engage, really and truly. Let me know. But I hope it's landing the way it's intended, which is to have conversations and disrupt so many of the narratives that we are fed about women broadly and about the women specifically who are subjects of this show, and bring a perspective that is itching to find the truth, give it some grace, but still give it some honesty, right? So anyway, that's my hope. And that's it for the second announcement. So now let's dig in to your comments. Okay, so I'm going to head over to TikTok first because I made a post on my personal TikTok about last week's episode about the Kardashians, where I basically just sort of talked through some of the points that came up and kind of what I was thinking about it after the fact. And I got a good number of comments. That video got a fair number of views. So first of all, let me find it. And if you're interested in going to my TikTok, it's called, if you scroll through the grid, the video is labeled Kylie Jenner. It got about 40,000 views and 454 comments. Now, I'm not going to read all 454 comments to you, but let's take a look at some of the most liked. Okay, so this is the most liked comment, 435 likes from someone named Rattle, R-A-D-L-E. My issue about it is they don't take any of the responsibility and at least pretend to have zero awareness to it. It's off-putting. Okay, so we spoke about this a little bit on the show, which, I sort of stated one of the things that I think allows people to draw this line of their culpability for creating an unrealistic beauty standard is the fact that they don't really acknowledge the role that they've played, and in some ways seem to be dishonest about all of the things that they're doing for their beauty. And that can be off-putting. I think if I were to try to put myself in my Adrienne mindset, because you guys know Adrienne is very much an empath and very much always trying to be in the other person's shoes, which I think is a real superpower of hers. Here's what she might say, or here's what I might say, I guess, if I were trying to be more generous. One, and I did mention this last week, I don't know if it is their responsibility or anyone's responsibility to be fully forthcoming about everything that they're doing to achieve their beauty. I can understand a Kardashian feeling like, yeah, there are certain things I do that I'm willing to be upfront about and willing to be, forthcoming with, and certain things I'm not. Certain things that are just for me, right? And I think that's fair. And I don't know if that necessarily means they aren't, quote unquote, taking accountability or, quote unquote, being dishonest, or if it's just them wanting to keep some things to themselves. I can certainly see that argument, but I will say I understand why it is off-putting that it seems like, they're pretending to have zero awareness. I mean, we even spoke about in the episode, they've been asked on multiple occasions, do you feel you're setting an unrealistic beauty standard? And the answer is always no. We just care about health. We put in the work. We work out. We do our treatments. We do our skincare. And that feels a little off-putting because it's sort of like, well, but is that it? Is that really it? That's what you're telling us. Is that the truth? Because how are we supposed to take that if we're pretty sure it's not the truth? How is that going to make us feel? So I understand this comment, but I am also cognizant of the potential opposite to that perspective. Okay, my second most liked comment. This is from someone named I. Lacey. She says, the way I view this conversation is as such. You cannot want the benefits of perpetuating a toxic standard of beauty when it pays your bills and then some, but bitch and moan when that standard is brought back on you as you inevitably age. You simply cannot reap the rewards of such a standard of beauty without reaping the punishment too. It comes off disingenuous when you see a grown-ass woman cry her crocodile tears about how other people comment on her appearance when she was always fine with it when it was to praise her perfection. Okay, now Lacey had a lot of thoughts. That was actually a 3-parter because you can only have a certain number of characters. So she had to break that down into 3 comments. So first of all, I appreciate you. I appreciate the engagement. The algorithm thanks you too. And much is said here. And I think this viewpoint, like I said, it's my second most liked comment. I think a lot of people share that viewpoint, which is, and we sort of kicked off the episode with this, right? This idea of like, you made your bed and now you have to lie in it, right? Like you sold to the public this idea of perfection, of perfectly lush, full lips and cheekbones that are sky high because they've been like lifted and filled, and the perfect fat ass and the teeny tiny waist and Botox and everything else, right? This is the standard of beauty that people believe they are quote unquote perpetuating, and you reaped the benefits of it. You built a, multi-million-dollar company off of that. So now when it's becoming apparent that you can no longer live up to that same standard that you perpetuated, you can't expect people to feel bad, right? Because you perpetuated it. That is very much the viewpoint of a lot of people. And I have to tell you, I empathize with that viewpoint. I can't say I feel it nearly as strongly, but I do empathize with it. And for me, I think it just comes down to sort of what we spoke about on the episode. Perhaps they did perpetuate this standard, right? Certainly, I think they contributed to it, but they didn't create it. Kylie didn't put filler and Botox into her face and get breast implants and, whatever else she did to her face and body. She didn't do all of that because she woke up one day and said, this is what I believe the new standard of beauty will be. That is the standard of beauty that she was viewing in the world. The tiny waist, the fat ass, the lifted cheekbones, the sculpted lips, full lips, the whatever. She was trying to attain a standard of beauty, clearly. And to an extent, aren't we all? I mean, I don't put makeup on my face for my health. Well, you maybe could argue that in some ways I do, because sometimes when you feel good, you look good, right? So it's a mental health thing. So maybe you could kind of draw a line between looking good and your health, but also, I do it because I want to look nice when I go out in the world. I want people to think, wow, KJ's pretty. I'd like someone to think that, okay? I'm not a super shallow person, but do I want people to think I look nice? Yes, I do. You wouldn't know from how often I show up on my TikTok with no makeup and in my pajamas and my hair looking crazy, but yes, I do. And we all do, right? To a certain extent. And she had the means to take that much farther than a lot of us do. I don't know how much I can fault Kylie specifically and all of them more generally for that. We all do the things that we sort of can do and deem necessary to do to look presentable, to look good and feel good. And they had the means to kind of take that to level 1,000. If I had the means to take it to level 1,000, I can't promise I wouldn't. There's a good part of me that thinks that I wouldn't. But I can't promise I wouldn't, because I don't have access to millions and millions and millions of dollars to, shoot filler into my face every time something looks a little bit droopy or a little bit wrinkled or a little bit less perfect than I want it to. Honey, all I can do is put on my little sheet mask and pray to the gods above, okay? Who knows what I would do if I had millions of dollars in the bank? So I think I can't judge them quite as harshly for that, but I do understand it. And I do think the whole all we do is work out and put on our lotions and potions, and we're not setting an unrealistic, I do agree that feels a bit off-putting, because I think we are all aware it's more than the lotions and potions. Okay, let me get to one or two more comments. There's a comment here that I think a number of people have made in some respect, basically that for Kylie specifically, there's more empathy and sympathy because she was so young when she, got on the screen. We spoke about this a little bit in the episode. I mean, Kylie was, I want to say 10 or 11 when the Kardashians went on air. Let me actually fact check that. Okay, yes. So Kylie was born in 1997. The show premiered in 2007. She was 10 years old. 10 years old when the show went on air. And it blew up. It was a phenomenon. Suddenly at 10 years old, she's in millions of households and being talked about by millions of people. If she's having bad acne or a bad hair day, if she's acting kind of entitled or spoiled in a certain episode, because what 10-year-olds don't sometimes act brattish, if whatever it is, there are millions of people speaking about it. And that includes speaking about her looks. And so I can understand that her having the insecurities we all have at that age, also having access to a lot of money, and also being raised in a family where the way you look is extremely important. I mean, it is essentially your source of income, right? For most of these women. So for her specifically, I think there are a number of people in the comments expressing sympathy, some even going so far as to say they really blame Kris Jenner for exploiting her at such a young age. I'm not going to get into that. Kylie Jenner has certainly never said anything about feeling like she's been exploited by her mother or her parents in any way. So if she's not saying it, I'm certainly not going to say that. But I will say I do have sympathy for someone being in the public eye so young and being judged so young for her looks. What would I do in that scenario? I don't know that I would do anything all that differently. I might think I would, and maybe I would, but I don't know because I've never been in that position. So certainly I have empathy as well, just thinking about truly how young she was and how young she still is. I mean, my God, she's not even 30 years old yet, people. This is a young woman. Okay, and I'm going to read one more comment. I scrolled down a bit. This is not a most liked comment, but I think a good comment. This is from someone named Noheli. She says, I agree about the influencer part. We are responsible for our own perception of people. I know people show us the best side of them. I don't feel sad or let it affect me because everyone has baggage. So I consume media knowing that it's probably not all rainbows and butterflies. And I think that goes for all of social media. I wanted to read that out because I do think a lot of how we integrate what it is we see and consume in the media, a lot of it is up to us. I don't think all of it is up to us, right? I think if you show anyone something enough times and enough ways, that is going to seep in. As I said last week, I'm a size 14, so I am plus size, mid size, whatever it is, people are calling us size 14 girls these days. And I spend a lot of my time feeling good about how I look, but I spend a fair amount of my time not feeling good about how I look. And I think I'm a very self-possessed person. I think I'm a very confident person, but I have been fed years and years and years of media, of articles, of TV shows, of commercials telling me that I should be thin. Thin is better. Thick is worse, right? You need to lose weight. You need to be slender. You need more muscle. You need to be you can't be told the same thing over and over and over again without it starting to seep in at least a little bit, or I should say I can't. So while I agree with this commenter that some of it really is up to us, I also think it's important to recognize it's not entirely up to us. You know, we are human, and our brains, when they get fed a certain amount of information over and over again, it's probably going to take hold. But I appreciate the sentiment that we do have to have a little bit of discernment when we're viewing social media, because a lot of people are only presenting one side, one aspect of their life, and we need to keep that in perspective. All right, so that was a whole lot of comments, a whole lot of commentary. I enjoyed it so much. I always enjoy when you guys comment and engage. I just, as I said at the top, love a discourse, honey. So thank you for engaging. Now let's get to some updates. Usually when I get to the update section, I try to give updates on the women we've spoken about in prior episodes. But tonight, I want to give an update on Simone Biles. We haven't done an episode on her. I'm sure at some point we will. First of all, I mean, all hail Simone Biles. If you haven't watched her floor routine for the Olympics, because she's, she had to do it for the Olympic trials. She's done it in a few other competitions. It's unreal. It's unreal. The announcer said at the trials on her first tumbling pass, she got 12 feet in the air. Excuse me, what? I feel like my ceiling is 12 feet high. You're telling me casually she ran and jumped up on my ceiling? Who? What? Okay, so that's number one. All hail Simone Biles. But number two, it is annoying me so much that we are still talking about her little husband. Oh my God. And I can't be the only one, because he was in the audience and I guess people feel like he just didn't look supportive enough. He wasn't like losing his shit when she made it into the Olympics. Like, because afterwards they announced like, here are your 5 Olympians. And, after she got announced and came out and the camera cut to him, he looked, normal, regular. He wasn't screaming, losing his shit. Certainly not the way I would have been. Okay. Let anybody I know make it to the Olympics and let me be in the stand. Oh, you would hear me from outside the stadium. Okay. Because I would be so hyped. Now that's me. And I'm just generally a very hyped person. And he seems to be generally a fairly subdued person. But of course, the reason why everybody is commenting on this is because of his podcast interview several months back, where he claimed that he didn't even really know who Simone Biles was when he went on a date with her. And he said that he was the prize, and he said that she pursued him. And of course, everybody was like, sir, what? We don't even know your name. In what world are you the prize? Okay. What are we talking about? She's the most decorated gymnast who's ever lived. She's the greatest athlete. A lot of people would say the greatest athlete who's ever lived. What she is doing in the sport of gymnastics is so unparalleled and unfathomable. You wouldn't even be able to fathom it if you weren't watching it with your own God-given eyes. So him calling himself a prize, obviously we were all very confused. And so now when you're watching her be named to the Olympics at 27 years old again, which does not happen in gymnastics, and you're giving us the golf clap, you had to know. You had to know people were going to think something. You're allowed to be subdued. You're allowed to be subdued. And frankly, I wish none of us were talking about it at all. But I wish he had just put a little bit more pep in his step so that we could stop talking about this man and just talk about Simone Biles. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So with that in mind, I'm not going to keep talking about him. I'm just going to put it out there. Give us a little bit more pep in your step once we get to Paris. Okay. Maybe think about it. All right. So that we can all focus on our girl out here changing the world of gymnastics. And then really quickly, the second update I want to give, somehow our girl Taylor is still in the news. I swear she's just living her life, but somebody went and wrote an opinion piece on her claiming that she is not a good role model because she's not married and doesn't have any children and has dated many men. That literally is the article. The writer's name is John McGleon, and he wrote this opinion piece in Newsweek. And it's garbage, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and read it to you, and I don't even recommend you go read it. But I bring it up because what's so wild to me is I know there are a lot of people who feel this way. They might not say it out loud, and they might not say it in such ridiculous terms, but I do know there are a lot of people who believe a lot of a woman's self-worth is tied to whether or not she's in a committed relationship and whether or not she's bearing children. And I will say, as someone who is both in a committed relationship and has a child, I think that is such bullshit. I hate that so much. I hate that it is being said about anybody. I hate that it's being said about someone like Taylor Swift at the top of her game, who has contributed to literal global economies. But we are talking about her worth as it relates to whether or not she's married a man. Oh, God, kill me now. I hate that so much. I just hope that we, and by we, I mean women, can push against that narrative at every chance. I can't speak for what these ignorant men are going to do. Ignorant men are going to say ignorant things, but I hope we as women can support all of the different versions of living life and contributing and being a role model, all the different ways that we do that. I really, really hope we can. I have so many friends who have decided they don't want kids. And let me tell you, I'm so happy for them. You've made that choice, and you've made it in the face of a world attempting to tell you that there's something wrong with that choice. And you've made it because it's the right choice for you. I'm over the moon for you. Let's celebrate that. You want to have a party to celebrate it, a non-baby shower? Girl, let's do it, because I love that for you. I love women making the choices that are right for them and best for them. And I hate that men get to open their mouths or break out their little keyboards to say anything about our choices, much less this woman's choice. So I just have to say how much I hate that. I need it on record, okay? Okay. And we've made it to our parking lot. This has already turned out to be a little bit longer of an episode than I thought it would be, so I don't want to keep you here too much longer. But what I wanted to say in this segment is I recently had a close friend say something to me that hurt my feelings, and I had to figure out what I was going to do about it, right? I knew this person did not mean to hurt my feelings. But my feelings were hurt, right? This happens all the time. That's life. What am I going to do? And I just wanted to share that instead of spiraling, which I very easily could have done, I really took the time to try and uncover like what was so triggering about what they said. And taking that time to uncover, like, what am I pressing up against here? What is it that's being pressed up against here? And once I did that digging and realized, oh, okay, it's my sort of core wound, my internal belief that I'm not good enough. And what this person said, like, very much triggered that emotion in me. That's not what they were intending to do, but that's what happened. So now I've recognized that. What am I going to do with that? Right? And I sort of did the work to both uncover it and try to integrate what I was feeling with my newfound perspective that I am, in fact, good enough, such that I could take this person's words and be in a place where I can have a conversation with them that isn't defensive and isn't spiraling and isn't rage filled and all the things that can happen when you get your feelings hurt, and instead can be rational, right? And not even just rational, because I hate when sometimes people make it seem like you're not allowed to be emotional in a conversation. It's not so much the rationality that's important. It is coming to the conversation holistically. I think approaching it purely from a place of hurt wouldn't have been holistic. It would have been surface level. And now I've done the work to take it a level deeper, and I can have a conversation that's more meaningful because of that. And that matters to me. And so I offer that up just to say, this is life. We are human. We are going to get hurt. Sometimes people are going to say things to us that trigger us and that deeply hurt us. And when you have the ability to take a beat and really dig in and try to understand, like, well, why did it hurt this way? Like, what is it that it's triggering for me? And what does that mean for me? Right? Do I actually believe I'm not good enough? No, I don't. Okay. So I know I am. So now when I have this conversation, I'm not having it from that same wounded place. When you have the opportunity to do that, and you won't always, right? Sometimes these conversations are happening in real time and emotions flare up and bop, 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 bop. Before you know it, you're throwing spaghetti, okay? But when you do have that moment, when you are able to take a beat, I encourage you to. Not for the other person's sake. I want to be very clear. This is not me saying kumbaya, peace, my Lord. This is me saying it's better for me that I've taken this time. I feel better. I'm not saying this altruistically. I'm saying it self-centeredly. I want to go into this conversation feeling better, feeling less hurt, feeling less stressed, feeling more myself. And because I took that time, I'm able to. So I just want to leave that with you. In the event you're currently dealing with someone who has hurt you, or it happens in the future, if you can take that beat and really try to understand, like, the nugget of why it's hurtful, and sort of like, is it a belief that you've held that you can really start to flip over and examine? I encourage you to do it. It's helpful. It's helpful to me, and I hope it's helpful to you. All right, everyone, that is it for this week. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at Two Queens, Two Crowns, and to check out the podcast on YouTube, Two Queens, Two Crowns. Also, be sure to subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Two Queens, Two Crowns. And I would also love for you to follow me on my personal socials. I'm on TikTok at @IM_KJ Miller, and YouTube with the handle I am KJ Miller. All right, see you next week.